Dumaguete 2026. Still worth it? People are leaving Dumaguete. Not in droves, but they are leaving. I've watched it happen over the last couple of years. Guys that come over here, they're full of fire. They sold everything. They set up shop. And 2 years later, they're back in Toledo, Ohio, wondering what went wrong. True story. Now, I'm not here to scare you off, but I do think it's critical that we take a reality check on some things that are definitely worth your consideration. So why did those people leave Dumaguete after just 2 years? I'm convinced by my observations and conversations that they had managed to oversell themselves on it before they ever got here. They had convinced themselves that it was paradise. And let's face it, kids, if there was a place called paradise, we'd all be living there. Dumaguete has changed a lot in the last 9 years since I first arrived here. And I would be remiss if I didn't cover a few of the topics that might influence you one way or the other before you may decide to pull the trigger and call Dumaguete your next destination or possibly your next home. Well, I suppose one of the most important topics we should cover is, as far as change, is the cost of living. When I first arrived here, the old $1,000 a month budget was actually a reality. And you can simply take that number and double it for my lifestyle, because that's exactly what I ended up doing. It now costs me $2,000 or a little bit more to live here every month. The price of rent back in the day, you could rent a little apartment, a one bedroom, or even a little house for $200 to $250 a month. Feel free to take that and double it on the same unit. And the thing that gets under my skin is that there's this myth that guys like me or guys like you, expats, foreigners, are all flooding into Dumaguete and jacking up the prices because we're willing to pay anything and we're all rich and this, that, and the other. And for the 10th time, I have Googled and run a poll and looked into the numbers, and they're the same today as they were 9 years ago. The expat population in Dumaguete is somewhere between 5,000 and 6,000. The population in total in Dumaguete is between 145,000 and 150,000 people. This day, 2026, expats still make up somewhere between 3 and 4% of the total population here in Dumaguete. So what's causing the increase other than good old inflation? I say it's a big boom in the Filipino middle class. There is a lot of money out here. There is a lot of old money out here. This is a university town. I see kids going to college out here, and they're driving nicer cars than mine and spending cash in the coffee shops and the restaurants just like it's nothing. Everybody's got a debit card or a credit card or a Gcash, and they're just whipping around, and these guys are 24 years old. It's my belief that their parents are coming out to either visit their daughter or their son. They take a look around, they got big money anyway, and they go ahead and they buy a place here, or they rent. Why not? The place has grown incredibly. It has added on 2 new malls since I got here. There are just dozens of new restaurants, upper end restaurants, and of course they've tripled the coffee shops, and that's gonna probably quadruple by the end of this year. And guess what, boys and girls? When I go in to have that overpriced cup of coffee or do what I would consider to be fine dining, and I take my wife, primarily I'm the only white face in the room, or the only expat might be the better way to phrase it, in the room. The rest are Filipinos. Now take that pill and swallow it for a minute, and don't be afraid to make a comment later on after you watch the video. Another major change that may have sent some people packing and other people like me scratching our heads is what's up with the overcrowded feeling that we get. I just mentioned earlier that the population has remained pretty much static at about 150,000. There hasn't been a big boom in expats. I know Dumaguete is rated one of the safest cities in all of Asia. I think it ranked 92 out of 100 on a recent survey that was taken. So the people that are coming here are a little better or well-heeled. And again, I'm going to refer right back to Filipinos. What happens when that happens? People start to buy automobiles. They start to get out more. They start to spend some of that money. They start to frequent all these new restaurants, all these new coffee shops, because they can. Before, 9 years ago, the economy was not nearly as booming as it is today. Automobile purchases are through the roof. I cannot believe some of the high-priced vehicles that I see zooming around Valencia and Dumaguete. And guess what? It's not guys like me that's driving them. It's Filipinos. What did I see the other day? I saw that cyber truck of Elon Musk. I saw him parked in front of a coffee shop, and a Filipino guy jumped out of it and went in and got himself an overpriced cup of coffee. But the advent of the automobile being driven out here has totally changed the vibe of driving. Back in the day, the first 2 years that I was here, motorcycles ruled the road, motorcycles and scooters. That was it. Yes, there was a bus, there was a truck, there was a trike, there was a jeepney. Those things would always kind of clog things up a little bit. But a motorbike was a beautiful thing. You could scoot around all those guys. There's no real rules of the road out here. We just got our first stoplight about a year ago, and it's not even working. And so it's just sort of, it's almost like blood plasma going through a vein. You know, they just kind of flow and ebb and move along in their own little harmony. That's kind of how it is when you were driving the scooter. You just sort of went with the flow. I would always tailgate some guy or drift him a little bit and just follow him. When he went, I went, because I knew it was safe, because he was a local. That's all changed. Why? Why are there so many friggin' cars on the road today compared to what it was back in, say, 2019? Easy financing is the quick answer. I noticed that my second year here, that cars started to appear much more frequently on the road. And what happens when you get more cars? Well, you get more congestion. And what happens when you get more cars? You get less parking. And what happens when you get less parking? You get even more congestion, because people are parking on the side of the road, taking up half the lane while they run in to buy a bag of fruit or a Hershey bar. And there's just no consideration whatsoever. They just pull over because, what did I just say before? There's no rules. There's nobody monitoring it. Every now and then you'll get some guy in a yellow shirt that's writing tickets, and he'll come along. And big deal. You get a parking ticket, it's 100 pesos. And most people, I think, just crumble them up and throw them away anyway. But that being said, all this financing that's become available to not just the upper middle class, but your everyday guy. And what does the everyday guy always dream of? A nice new car. What a status symbol. What a way to roll. I loaned my car to my wife's brother, and when he went through his hometown, he rolled down the window so people could see through the tint, and he was like Joe Cool, like, hey, how are you? What's going on? Nice to see you. Yeah. He wanted to make sure everybody saw him. And so that is one of the dynamics out here. Unfortunately, and I find this to be a big negative because I used to be in the car business, easy financing will kill the little guy. The middle class, they can handle it. But a little bit of money down, sign on the line, and you can drive away without a driver's license because they don't check. You too can drive away in your brand new, whatever it is, for a payment that there's no way in hell you can afford. Sound familiar? Anyway, as a sidebar, the repossession rate out here runs at about 50%. So now we have this quagmire. All of these cars are on the road. There's nowhere to park them, and we are definitely suffering from growing pains. Word to the wise, if you're gonna be coming out here, there's a thing that I have called the driving dynamic, and I pick my battles. I know certain days of the week, I know certain times of certain days of the week, it's cool for me to take my car. But if it's one of those quagmire days and it's not raining outside, I'm on the scooter. I do not want to deal with trying to find a place to park. I do not want to deal with getting stuck in like I was on the 405 coming home from Santa Monica. Those days are over. I'm retired. I don't have it in me anymore. The good news is that when you do get into a jam out here, and I'm talking about traffic jam, it lasts about 15 minutes because usually it's in sections, and primarily it's in downtown Dumaguete. Up here in Valencia on Sunday, when they have the Valencia market, it's a nightmare. So guess what? I just don't go out on Sundays until it clears out around 12 noon. And then we can get in and we can get down the road if we need to go into town, because Sunday also happens to be one of the lightest days in downtown Dumaguete. So once I get through the quagmire in Valencia, it takes about 10, 15 minutes to get past all that nonsense. My wife and I, we got parking spots galore. I wouldn't advise it on a Monday afternoon by the public market. All right, well, that's the video. If you think I'm full of shit, feel free to say so in the comments section. Or if you want to change things up and say something nice, I'll take that too. Okay, kids, I'm looking forward to seeing you all in the next video.